Hi everyone, I'm Mike Boblett with John L. Scott.
This is Dan Brower with Castle Home Inspection, serving the Spokane County in North Idaho.
How does someone find a qualified home inspector like yourself?
Well, in Washington State, we're truly fortunate that they require home inspectors to be licensed in accordance with state law. And I know some people are like, oh, it's another way that they're taking your money. But I would actually counter that. I would say that when the state requires you to go to a trade school, requires you to apprentice under a master, and then requires you to be a member in good standing by paying your dues and doing continuing education, I think it produces a better inspector than somebody who can try and go out on their own. And I'm not knocking the guys in other states that go out on their own, but that can it's a recipe for failure on both the inspector and that potential home buyer that just wants to have a quality job done.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah, it's just about, it's going to happen, you have to learn. So you learn when you're with the apprentice rather than out on your own.
Exactly, and I was very lucky. I was able to apprentice under a man named Larry Howe. He just retired in Western Washington. He was the former ASHI Washington State president.
Oh, wow.
And a wealth of knowledge. I'm friends with his son, so it fell into my lap. I got pretty lucky. But he passed on some things to me that have just been a wealth of help in my business dealings and in my providing that quality inspection.
That's great.
As far as finding a qualified home inspector, though, I think that is there's some information I could pass on there, but I think a lot of it has to do with the client not just looking for price, and how does that client find quality? And I've done a lot of research on it, and I at one point I put together a PowerPoint to help first-time home buyers. I used to teach some of those classes. But I think it really boils down to three major things. Number one, if you're a client looking to buy a house and you've gone under contract and it's time to get that home inspection, first and foremost, ask your agent for some inspectors they recommend. Your agent's livelihood and success, not just for home inspection, but for every recommendation they make, it weighs heavily on their reputation. Agents, especially with John L. Scott, some of these other highly regarded brokerages, they have to require the best and they have to vet the best. So you can kind of hit the fast forward button by asking your agent who they recommend.
Right.
And then number two, I would say call, first, I'm sorry, I got a little tricked up there for a second. So first and foremost, ask your agent. Then second, I would go online and pick the top three, in your opinion, home inspectors based off these two things. One, Google reviews, not just quantity, but quality. People will tend to write longer reviews when they're more enthused or pleased with the quality of work. And second, I would look at their website. Not to knock inspectors with older websites, that's perfectly fine, but even an older website that has a high quality inspector, somebody that's very deliberate with their actions, will have a very tidy website. So the website can be old, but just take a look. Does it look professional? Does it look tidy? How are the reviews? And then the third thing, and this is how you really vet them, is I would call the 1 to 4 that your agent recommends, and then the 3 more that you found on Google, I would call them and I would ask them for a quote on your house and ask them what they do in the home inspection. And then this is the part where you listen. And when I say listen, I don't just mean to keep your mouth shut, stuff like that. What I mean is listen to how they sound over the phone. I think this is a big thing with tradesmen, people in the trades as a whole. If they sound professional over the phone, if they sound like they speak, they articulate in a very specific way, people that sound professional over the phone tend to be professional in person.
Right.
So I would listen to all 5 or 6, and then I would pick the one you want. Now, price is important, but I wouldn't go for the lowest price person, because the lowest price person typically is looking to undercut competition in some way. Now, that's not because I want to bolster the cost of a home inspection. I don't want you to pick the most expensive one. When it comes to there's specific niches in home inspection, just like real estate. You don't want to pay a luxury, inspector that specializes in custom built mansions the rate he charges for your first time home, for that home for your children. You want to find that middle road, that middle priced inspector, very articulate and professional over the phone, highly reviewed and regarded, and a bonus if your agent already works with him because he has the pleasure of saying this is what he does and this is how he works. So those are my big 3 steps. I'd highly recommend you utilize them.
Yeah, awesome answer.
Sure.